Today is April 3rd, is that correct? And the meeting has been warned. We'll call us to order at 5 p.m. And let's see, we will start. We have a number of the public here, and we like to start with recognition of groups and individual visitors. And this is the time if you have anything that's not on our agenda that you'd like to talk about, this would be an opportunity. We will be on Brattleboro Community Television, so please state your name clearly and make sure you can see the camera, so make sure that they can see you. Anybody have anything to say or want to participate in the meeting or tell us anything?
Hi, I'm Sherry Keefe. I'm here in regard to my concern
Can't
about...
see you. Can you stand up?
Yep. I'm here in regard to my concern about the school's collaboration with the Brattleboro Music Center.
I'm Mariah. I'm the director and lead teacher at WSESU School, and here to talk about pre-K partnership.
And that is on our agenda.
Yes. I'm Dora Levinson. I work at Building Bright Futures, and I'm also here for that conversation.
I'm Kimberly Soto, a parent of an elementary student, and I'm pretty much here just kind of supporting about the BMC concerns.
Thank you. Well, Ms. Keefe, I'd ask you what you'd like to address us, or you have something you'd like us to do, or something.
I believe that they wanted to handle this in executive session. Is that correct?
I don't believe that it complies with the requirements of executive session. I can read the statute stuff to you if you like, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Yes, I sent a letter to Lyle Holiday and the elementary school principals in regard to my concerns. I could read the letter if you like.
I would remind you that you are on TV, it's public. If you're to mention any names,
I can eliminate the names
that would
if need be.
probably be
Okay. Dear Lyle Holiday, Superintendent and elementary school principals, I'm writing to express my grave concerns about the collaboration between the WSESU elementary schools and the Brattleboro Music Center involving students in your programs. Even though the Brattleboro Music Center has been in possession of information since 2009 regarding 2 individuals participating in their programs who have sexually exploited and abused students, they have failed to act in a timely manner to report the abuse to authorities or act to limit the access of certain individuals they know to have abused students. I myself contacted the BMC in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2018, and most recently in 2019 about these allegations. They originally removed the first alleged predator from their programming for children in 2009, but later reinstated him, even though they had in their possession the original complaint that I made to the school district, document 1, as well as a letter in which he admitted to abusing multiple students, as well as being a pedophile, document 2. After an additional verbal complaint was made in 2018 when he was observed participating in the concert for school children at the Latches, he was again removed, but his wife, who enabled his abuse and predation of students, remained and continues to play in concerts with and for school children. The Brattleboro Music Center asserts that she no longer poses a risk to current students, but have failed to provide any evidence to support this claim. I'm including the complaint made to them most recently in January 2019 about this document, about this concern. Community members and parents have lost their faith in the Brattleboro Music Center to act in a timely manner to protect their children and remove those individuals who have exploited or abused students in the past. They have repeatedly failed to be forthright with parents or the public about the nature of the allegations, their timing and response to these concerns, or be honest about the continued participation of alleged child predators in their programming. We ask for your support to hold the BMC accountable for their lack of accountability and transparency in regard to child protection. If they cannot act in good faith to protect the district's children or remove these individuals from activities provided to children in the WSES district, we ask that the collaboration between the district and the Brattleboro Music Center cease. So I've sent this letter, and I have big concerns about this. I provided lots of documentation to the principals at Lyle, and I'd like this to be addressed. I feel that even though there are statute of limitations issues, that the school district and the BMC should act in the best interest of students and act to protect them. There are multiple complainants in this circumstance, and we are members of your community. And I guess that is my concern. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm willing to answer questions if you have them.
Have any questions? But you don't have to, I just
Well, I do because I'm new. So what is the exact collaboration between BMC and Brattleboro Public Schools?
Several years ago, when we were challenged in terms of getting, maintaining a robust music program, there's a lot of community members came out, and Margaret Atkinson at the time, the chair at the time, challenged, after a long conversation and really good back and forth, it challenged them to help us solve the problem. And the Music Center stepped forward and offered a string program at a very reduced rate. My understanding is that now is after school,
After school.
and that's when our students are at the Music Center? That's correct.
I can answer what my particular concern is. The participation of these individuals in the concert for school children at the Latches, as well as students participating in the music program at the schools, are then going on to participate in concerts with the Wyndham Orchestra that have involved these alleged predators.
So I contacted the BMC because obviously we do not want to send our children into unsafe situations. According to the BMC, neither of these people works in the after-school program with our students. I cannot speak to the concerts that Sherry's talking about, that I don't have that information.
Now, we had a similar concern last year, and the outcome was that the person was not going to play in the concert.
Correct.
But this is a different person?
Yes, they took
Okay.
action against that one individual. There is still another individual that there are concerns about that is playing in the concerts for school children at the Latches, that all the elementary school children and all the kids in the district are brought to. Even kids that I work with at Community House have been brought to those concerts.
Has there been a meeting with members of the Brattleboro Music Center Board and the school board? I mean, a public meeting is kind of a little, it's a difficult environment to be talking about this.
I understand.
Has there been a confidential meeting between one or two members of the Brattleboro School Board or the administration and the Brattleboro Music Center? Because there are legal issues, there are legal definitions, there's legal, there's a lot of legal issues
I understand that.
to protect everybody.
Yeah,
And
I cannot-
those, I'm just wondering if all of that has been put out on the table. I would certainly be willing to be part of that kind of process, because this is extremely important, and there does need to be the facts laid out and a decision made that conforms to law and conforms to the best practices for our students.
I can't speak about the specific instances. I can speak as a parent. When I found out about this, I'm pulling my kids out of the program not because of whether these people are a part of BMC or not. I'm pulling them out because of the reaction I got from BMC, which is my biggest concern. When I brought this up, I was immediately told, well, there's no legal court saying this person is a danger. I didn't ask about that. I told them, I said, I know the story behind this. I don't want to know about the story. I want to know what BMC can give me for information on how they take care of a situation like this and how they're going to make at least me, if not other parents, feel comfortable that our kids are safe in their care. The response I have gotten repetitively, and I wish I had had time to even print out the most recent email, was Well, this person that was accused is no longer a risk to the kids, and I can only assume who that person is. They didn't name the person. I didn't ask about the person. I asked about what they were going to do. They have 3 times turned me down. It's gotten to a point that when I go either call or try to go in, I'm basically shut down until they can't talk to me about it. And I'm not asked, my concern is a program that is not willing to tell a parent, at least, this is what we do in this circumstance, and a generic term is a concern for me.
So 2 things. I don't know if I should ask this of David or Kim, who've been on the board, or Robin or Lyle, but has there been a kind of a meeting with Brattleboro Music Center about this issue?
So I've been in contact with the director, Mary Green, but we have not had members from their board meeting with members of our board.
And it seems to me that the 2 of you coming forward, which is important that you're doing so, the individuals in question are not actually part of the program after school at Academy School, because it's a weekly program, or once or twice a week after school. Children are bused there and then picked up by families, and these individuals that
There's
you're
2
concerned
hours.
about are not at those programs.
They are not in those programs, but kids
Okay.
who participate in those programs.
I understand that,
Yeah.
okay, but I'm just,
Yes.
just trying to get
Yes,
some
they're
basic.
going on to have
So
contact.
the
with
program
these
that
individuals.
we're sponsoring in our schools, on school property, after school, I understand, I'm a performing artist myself. You perform so that you can get more and more venues to perform and expand your horizons. But the actual after-school program that we're sponsoring on school property does not involve these individuals.
No, but.
Okay, I just want to make sure that. I
There's-
understand there's other things, but I want to get that
Yes.
really clear. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
and-
There's actually 2 programs, and no, they're not directly involved in the program. The second
Could you stand
program,
up, please?
sorry, the second program is the orchestra, which is now my understanding merged into the after-school string program that one of my children was in. That involves BMC employees driving our kids to the BMC property. And when I picked up my child from BMC, this lady has been in the building, maybe not directly with the kids. But like I said, my concern is the lack of transparency on what to do with the issue. What do you do about the issue is my concern. And so my concern kind of reaches beyond, now I feel like I don't know who I can trust. Is there another story that hasn't come out? Like, my concern is losing my faith in them keeping my kids safe. I feel my kids are safe when they're at Oak Grove. I no longer feel they're safe when they're in care of BMC.
What is that program you're referencing? That doesn't sound-
There's the after-school string, which everyone's familiar with, but they also have a youth orchestra that they do after that, which used to be separate, but from my understanding from BMC, it has kind of merged, that you don't have to do it. But then they take the kids from the elementary school and bring them to the BMC proper. And like I said, my concern kind of goes into if they're not willing to give me generic answers about how they tackle this issue, I don't know who I can trust in the program.
And is there a reason why that program moves from Academy School to the BMC after that?
As long as I've had, my oldest went in, would have been at least 3 years ago. They've always had it that way, but originally the youth orchestra was separate from the school. But the last, I think, 2 years, they told me that it's now a free program. I don't have to pay for it because it is covered by the after-school string. I'm not sure the technicalities of how.
What are
to
you
get
looking
there.
for the board to do now? What would satisfy you as the next step?
My concern is the safety of children. I think that, I don't know about legalities. My concern is safety and there's transparency of what your policies are. I feel like if I came to my school and said, hey, I've heard that there's this accusation going on, what are you going to do? I may not be told exactly, okay, we're going to prosecute or we're going to do this specifically, but I'd at least be, this is how we take care of it. We're going to bring it to the board, or this person's going to be suspended until, or like I'm going to get some sort of like at least generic outline of how to tackle it. And they sent me a policy that didn't even seem to make sense with anything they were telling me. It was 2 different stories.
So the last thing I would just say is I do have a little bit of a concern because it seems there's a sort of a merging between, we have an on-site program
Yeah.
that's in our buildings that this concern is not related to currently. Maybe it was, but isn't. But then there's this sort of gray area where we have staff at the BMC transporting students to the BMC.
And I don't know exactly how connected they are.
And who's the staff person in our schools who is most directly involved in this?
As far as I know, they're all BMC employees.
So we
They're
don't
not
have.
school
Her name's
employees.
Carol, I'm not sure of her last name.
It'd be Carol and I think Heather, but I'm not sure. of the
Carol
last name.
Compton.
Oh, Carol, yeah, well, she's
Which
the
is
head
the
of the
only
BMC
person.
Music School.
Don't know anything from school.
So I'm new to the board, so I probably said more than I should have already, but I'm concerned. And like I say, David, I'm happy to be part of a communication to try to get to the bottom of it, because music is very high on my priority of what we do in our schools. And it should be safe, and it should be clearly defined what's happening and who's responsible.
I just want to be clear that this has never had anything to do with the Strings in the Schools program. The concern is with people who are orchestra members. And so when there are those occasions where the strings, after school strings kids play in a concert with the rest of the orchestra, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the Strings in the Schools program. I'm wondering, Lyle, last time you had some legal advice that basically told us what the correct path was. I'm assuming you've talked to the lawyer about this, and what did they say?
The lawyer has said that there are no confirmed, there are allegations, but nothing confirmed. Whereas in the past situation, there was confirmed incidents of sexual sex with a minor. As there is not with this person, and our students are not in, this person is not in the after-school program. Our attorney said that we should not have to worry about sending our students. We're not, we've worked with BMC. BMC has said this person does not interact with your students. If we feel like that's not enough, then we have the right to go on. Maybe ask the BMC director, board members, attorney to meet with us or a subcommittee here. Our attorney did not think there was anything that we could do at this point.
I'm just wondering, as Kim was mentioning, about what is their policy on when there's something like this where there's an alleged abuse but nothing that is legally proven, or whatever the term would be. If this were something that was taking place on school grounds, what is our policy on that? And is there any way we can see if they have a similar approach?
So they have to be fingerprinted, for one thing.
To work here.
To work with us. And then if they were found to be guilty on our premises, then we would seek legal, we would prosecute.
Okay.
We actually, no, sir.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, I'm trying to imagine if you're kind of, the situation of someone who was accused of being a participant in a long ago abuse. So they might not show up on fingerprinting as having committed any crime, but say something like this were to be found out about a person that works in the schools, and it's not really prosecutable because it happened 25 years ago. What would our procedure be in that case?
I would call our attorney and he would have to walk me through what we
Okay.
would do.
Because I'm just wondering if the discomfort here is that there isn't a clear policy coming from the BMC, and just wondering, like, what would the appropriate policy look like that could be reassuring to parents in this case?
They should have, if they're dealing with our kids, they should have a policy that matches ours completely.
Well, we have a representative from the Music Center who can probably, maybe able to shed some light on this
Hopefully I
particular
can,
issue.
yeah. Hi, my name is Craig Miskovich. I'm an attorney at Downs, Rackham, Martin, and I represent the Brattleboro Music Center. And I'd like to address the board and tell you a little bit about our policy and the procedure that we recently followed. I have a prepared statement, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have any. Earlier this year, the Brattleboro Music Center received a complaint alleging that a person who participates in BMC programming had sexually exploited minors in the early 1980s. The alleged acts did not occur at the BMC and were not connected to BMC programming. In accordance with its abuse, harassment, and prevention policy, the BMC conducted a thorough investigation of the matter. I conducted that investigation, including interviews of the complainant and the BMC participant and others. Based on the investigation, BMC determined that the actions described in the complaint, taken as true, did not support a finding that the BMC participants' continued involvement with BMC posed a risk of harm to any BMC participants.
I would like to counter that. The first individual that the BMC removed from their programs who abused students in the school district when he was a teacher at Brattleboro High School, the second individual allowed him to bring these students to their home and engage in sexual activity. And some of these students were minors. So that is my concern, endangering the welfare of children. You know, statute of limitations have precluded prosecution of both of these individuals, but neither of them have taken appropriate responsibility for the behavior. And I feel there is an ongoing concern, and parents are not being informed of this, that this is being kept secret, and they're not, you know, meeting the bar of protecting kids who may come into contact with this individual. At the very least, they should be informing parents that there are concerns. You know, I think the individual should be banned completely. I was willing to say that I would be comfortable with them participating with adults, but not in any activities that are for the district school children or that involve any of the district school children. This individual would have the capacity to step down themselves, and they have not.
I think there are a couple of issues that I think we've identified. One is being able to understand what the BMC policy is. And I'm not sure that we can help you with that if what they sent you, the articulated policy doesn't
I got exactly what he said, which is not answering my question.
You want to know
I'm
what the
already
process
aware
is?
of the accusations, I'm aware of the evidence behind it, I'm aware of the statute of limitations. What I'm asking is, what are you going to do to make us feel that you got our kids' best interest? And the first reaction I actually got when I asked that question from Carol was, how do you know this? And why do you know this? This could be a problem. That is my concern. And I was kind of hoping I wouldn't have to say that here, but as a parent, that's where my first concern of, I don't know if I can trust you to have, because when I went in there to talk to her, I had complete plans to send my child. After that, I have not sent my child at all to either one of my girls to the BMC, because with a response like that, I feel like they are more concerned about their appearance in the public than they are about children's safety. Because, like, just want to say, I'm not asking about the individuals. I didn't even live in the town when that happened. What I was asking about is, what are you going to do to make sure that our kids are safe? And getting that response makes me feel like, you know, you could be covering somebody, maybe not. I don't know. And I'm not willing to take a I don't know. If I knew that, I wouldn't have my kids go to public school if I felt that way. I would homeschool. I send my kids to public school because I feel like they do care about my kids. I'm not feeling that with BMC anymore. And I love music. I mean, I'm like almost at tears right now because that's the one thing that I think my children thrive on. I don't want to take it from them. But my concern of safety. I don't know what we can do about the individuals, but at least a meeting, find out like why is BMC not, like, you know, you're just kind of throwing generic information at me. You're not really, you know.
I don't want to get in an argument, but our policy regarding these things, like your policy, is that they're confidential. I can't disclose, and actually I've been told by the complainant that I can't disclose any of the information that I gathered in my complaint to you or anyone else. I feel that I'm a little frustrated about that because I think that information is inconsistent with the information that you're getting. But I'm going to respect that policy that the Brattleboro Music Center has and the wishes of the complainant, and I can disclose that information. Again, The Brattleboro Music Center didn't make this determination because of some statute of limitations. We have determined that these allegations, which for behavior that occurred in the 1980s, even if true as alleged, and we've assumed that they are, do not pose a risk of harm to any of the children who participate in Brattleboro Music Center programming today.
Maybe the
No,
question is
we're gonna-
why.
We need to kind of come to some conclusion here, because there are limits to what we can do, what our responsibility is, and what we actually can do. And I don't think, Kim, that there's much we can do to help you with the experience you've had with them. And so that, that's one of the issues. And the other issue is the whether we can do anything or want to do anything about a person who has never been, who you have accused and you are very concerned about, but who has in no other way has shown any threat or danger to children. And we understand that BMC has programs in place to keep an eye on our kids. We certainly have programs in place. When the students are, if they're in the orchestra, we'll have to look into what is that a relationship between the child and the family, and or is it through the school district? That may make it our business, but I still don't see how we have the authority to tell someone who's never been accused of a crime that they can't pursue their interests. I know you think that you feel very strongly, obviously, that this person's a threat.
I would propose that the school district launch an investigation, because there are allegations that this individual had a sexual relationship with a Brattleboro High School student, even though she wasn't a teacher there during the 1970s. So the Brattleboro, the Wyndham Southeast Supervisory Union, I don't believe has ever investigated this. They have been aware of this since 2009, and they received a subpoena to get information about the first alleged predator. They have been aware of the situation since then. Why has no investigation been done? Why has nothing been done to try to find other victims to, substantiate the veracity of these allegations? Why has no therapy been offered to victims that have been identified? The school department has really done nothing. Ron Staley said to me, he personally called me and said that this individual, the original individual who taught at Brattleboro High School, was no longer allowed on any school property in the WSESU, and his comment to me was, I hope this hasn't caused you too much trouble. I mean, I think that shows some ignorance on the part of the school district, and I would like an investigation to be launched. There's a pattern of abuse that happened at Brattleboro High School, and both of these individuals were involved, and there are other complainants.
David?
Yeah, good.
I think and I'm not saying this to try to squirm out of our responsibility, but this is Brattleboro Town School Board.
I understand.
Okay, so there's also a line, was my earlier line of questioning, that the program that takes place at Academy School after school, which is on school property and is our string program, our school string program, does not involve this individual. There is a line, and I'm guessing that parents who decide to participate, have their child participate with the orchestra program, that is between the family and the Brattleboro Music Center. That is not part of our school string program. Is that true?
I didn't even know about that.
So what I'm saying is you have legitimate concerns that you clearly need to get to the bottom of, but they don't involve, and I'm not saying this to just kind of shirk responsibility, but we have a legal responsibility for the programs of the Brattleboro elementary schools and early childhood. We have no legal authority to investigate what happened at the Brattleboro Union High School in the 70s or the 80s, nor do we have any authority to investigate current employees of the Brattleboro Music Center in programs that are not taking place on the school property.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wish you would wait to be
I will.
recognized by the chair,
I will.
okay? So what I'm saying is that I don't think we can provide relief to you. As the Brattleboro Town School Board, we are providing, from my understanding a safe environment at Academy School for students who wish to study strings with instructors provided by the Brattleboro Music Center, because none of the people running that program are under this cloud of suspicion that you know about. If your child is then going from that program to the BMC, you need to take this up further with the BMC or with an attorney, but it's not really, and again, I'm not saying that to shirk responsibility, but we have legal limits to what we can investigate and what we're legally responsible to provide. And you're, in my mind, as an individual who's being thrust into this very quickly, now, I have no preparation for this, but so I'm looking at it very even-handedly. But I'm just saying that what I signed up for as a Brattleboro Town School Board member, this is beyond our jurisdiction. And I think you need to find the sphere of jurisdiction to further investigate this. But I don't believe it's Brattleboro Town School Board.
Well, I will say one thing about that.
I would like to hear from the other members of the board, so we get a sense of where we are.
There is a relationship between BMC and the schools. So when we have students that we're putting in the string program, or allowing them to sign up for that, we are conveying an amount of confidence that this is a group where your kids can feel safe with. So I don't think it's quite as cut and dried as would be simpler for us. Additionally, when we had this issue come before us in the past, the outcome of it was that the person was asked to not play in the orchestra when the kids were going to be playing in it. So there was a previous precedent of us, through conversation, not any kind of like investigatory or legal means, but through conversations with the BMC saying, basically, am I allowed to talk about this because it was in an executive session?
It was an executive session, correct.
Yes.
So I think you're okay right now.
Okay.
I would not go too deep.
Okay. Basically, it was an agreement negotiated between the two organizations, and that was the outcome. We don't have authority over them, but that was the agreement that was made. So I would question if it's possible for us to enter into some more conversations like that and see if we can reach something that feels like a comfortable outcome. I don't think it's something that we can talk about any further in this meeting here.
I wasn't obviously on the board at that time, but that sounds like a great idea. I think too, something that somebody else is kind of writing down some ideas of what would fall into our kind of jurisdiction, or what I would think of is like, one, we probably should know the relationship between the Wyndham Youth Orchestra and the Brattleboro Public Schools, if there is any, just to confirm that. So if we're promoting it, or if we're actually like have some type of partnership, which it sounds like maybe we do or don't, I'm not sure. So I'd just like to know if we do have a partnership with them, or if we're really pushing kids to go into it. I don't know if this, so we have the fingerprinting, but it would be nice to know if collaborators that we're working with do align with our policies as far as how they handle these things. And I don't think that could just be vetted at the beginning when we're working with collaborators, like, okay, what's your policy on this? Okay, this seems like it's similar to ours, and then check. We've done kind of our due diligence, because also if we're not working with these people, then, as long as they have the policies to, reprimand these people if something's happened, then that's their kind of jurisdiction. So I don't know if that's, I don't know how you guys feel, or if that's enough, or that goes beyond our purview.
I mean, I think we definitely want to make sure that our policies are similar at BMC, because, and I guess I wasn't aware that the kids leave the school to go to BMC after they do the strings program.
I know nothing about
So
None of us seem to know anything.
if that's a little concerning to me,
Yeah.
That is too, because I thought you guys were going.
no. So that's actually, that kind of concerns me a bit, just because
They're leaving from school.
they're leaving from our protection.
Right.
Well, I think, hearing that, I think what we can do is clarify what our relationship is with the youth orchestra, so that that's very tight. We can certainly ask them to, we want to compare our policy, not just on hiring and background checks, but our policy on making sure that the kids are safe at all times, particularly around sexual predation, and look at their policy and look at ours. And we encourage you to try again to find out more about their policies and see if you can get some sense of what they are. But I think, but beyond that, I mean, you're welcome to, I'll invite another comment, but we need to kind of move on with our agenda.
The only thing that I got was about basically sexual harassment and abuse on the property. This is concerning a past history. And I don't know if the school has something, but I kind of feel like the statute of limitations being so overly outdated and people don't come forward until usually double after the statute of limitations. I mean, my concern is maybe there should be a policy that kind of covers evacuations and what to do. That's probably something you'd run across a lawyer, I'm sure. I don't know the legalities of it. But the connection between the board and the BMC is you guys are using taxpayer dollars to pay for the program. You're also telling us this is part of a school program that's going to be just as safe as the school we send our kids to. So I do feel the safety is an issue, although I can kind of understand maybe the actual accusation specific people involved may be out of your jurisdiction, but I would like to see the board maybe talk a little bit more about safety and making sure the programs that we do partner with have a similar policy and some way for you guys to communicate if there is concern. Because it seems like there's no communication, not only with parents, but not even with you guys, that there was a concern about the children there. That's basically all I wanted to say, and I do agree with some of the board members that spoke about that.
Thank you. Ms. Keith, is there anything else you'd like to say?
My only concern is the safety of the district's school children participating in school-sponsored events. And also that you clarify your policies so that students will not be put at risk. Thank you.
I also would like to ask, since you are the people that are primarily responsible for making sure that our children are safe, if you would like to address not the specifics of this, but just generally how, anything you would like to say or any thoughts you have to the topic. But I'm not bothering to say that that safety is our primary concern too, because it's a given. And we all understand that. We all are very careful who we hire because that's what we're about. So that's really not an issue. The issue is what's the right thing to do in this circumstance. And it's not an easy one because there's no clear indication that this person is a threat. So, but just in general, is there anything?
Well, safety first and foremost is our top priority in everything we do in working with kids. And we also want to have relationships with our community. So when we do things like winter sports, we send kids out into our community. So we do have relationships with folks in our community who provide great enrichment for experiences for our kids. And that's a really essential part of what we do. And I feel I don't know a lot about this situation, so it's hard to speak to this. But I feel like we work in confidence and in transparency with the organizations that we do work with through winter sports primarily. Most of our after-school programs, I think all of them, except for NEYT and the strings session, are in-house.
Boys and Girls Club, is that another?
That's not a small thing.
We don't have that. So there's a clear line. Parents sign up for that as a separate program.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting
Aspire.
case
Even
because it's
Aspire.
sort of a hybrid. We have a related program in our school, and then it's because of the development of children musically. And I get the connection. I do hear the connection.
can, because we can offer strings instruction in our school, elementary school band.
Yeah.
This was the supplemental way to do that.
Right, and like the whole point of learning to play strings is to be in an orchestra, well, you know, one of the points of it. So it seems like there's sort of a assumed path that many of the kids who do that would want to be in the orchestra.
It seems like there probably needs to be more digging into this situation, and I think your suggestion, Robin, and Andy, you had a suggestion too of maybe coming together with the BMC and making a determination of what's the best thing to do.
Okay, so I just want to be really clear. Well, first off, we don't meet again this month, so fortunately, there's a whole month for us to the district is under, the entire school system is under intense pressure, not just the normal pressure day to day, but there are just requirements from the state that are taking up an awful lot of energy. And so adding anything to the administrator's plate, we're very hesitant to do that. But this obviously is important, and I'm really glad to have people like this on board, because I think really have a pretty good perspective on how to move forward. We will be looking at our policy and theirs, and hopefully by, I think our next meeting is May 8th. And we hopefully we'll have something by then, but if not, certainly the one after that, the 22nd. Those are different than usual. They're usually first and third, but usually second and fourth because of the new members on the board. And the other, to look at our policy and theirs, and to look at the relationship between the youth orchestra and the schools, to be really clear about that process. And we'll report back.
Do we want to set up a subcommittee of a couple members to meet with me and the director and maybe the BMC board to do this work? And then
That's
report
a really
back?
good idea, yeah.
I think we can, as the musicians on the board, we can
Suggest the
be
two of
the
you.
people on the subcommittee.
No, and
I think that would be good.
if you want to join us.
You're
Do we
going
need a
forward
motion to
with
do
like
that, or can we
perfect.
just
Set up a
informally?
subcommittee?
Do we need a motion to do that?
I think we should have one.
Yeah, I would like to move that we create a subcommittee.
Well, I would move that we have two members of the board reach out to the BMC and have a sit-down and talk about these exact things, the policy, the overriding concern, which I'm sure is a shared concern, but what we need to do is get it aligned. And I know this is a
Okay.
tough issue because perceptions are everything. And
We have a second?
Well, I moved that if Andy would amend it, that it be Andy and Robin.
that's fine.
Okay. And I just
Second that.
want to say that if you are interested, Emily, we have to know 24 hours ahead and warn
We
it.
have to warn it.
And there would only be one item on the agenda, that's all you can talk about. We don't typically do that, but it is possible. Sometimes 3 heads are better than 2, and sometimes 2's better. You can decide that among yourselves.
So I'll put myself in now, or?
So what you're saying, if the three of us were to meet with the BMC, we would need to warn
You
them?
would need
Yes.
to
Right,
tell
it needs
Lyle
to
and
be-
Barn and get it
Because,
warned.
and minutes would have to be taken.
It's okay, you don't have to do all of
Okay.
it, because I know it's a lot of extra administration, so I think.
We would be bringing back all
Yeah.
the need of the
Yeah.
conversation to this board.
Okay. I just don't want
And
to
Lyle, would
discourage
you
all
be
the straight
participating in that
energy.
meeting as well?
I would join you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be in touch with you too about
Okay.
possible dates. And
Yeah.
We need to vote though.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion to create a subcommittee to explore relations with the Music Center, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Then we are agreed. That subcommittee is created. Thank you for coming. I wish we had more that we could offer.
Thank you.
And I don't know,
Dinner time is.
this, we spent a lot of time with these people and we're pretty confident.
Thank you for hearing our
Yeah.
concerns.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
And at this moment, I think it's a great start. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Academy School presentation.
Is that left over from the last?
I think it is, yeah. I was
Kelly's like, what? She's like, John, that's you, go.
Cutting and pasting error or something, right?
Don't tell Barb.
Can we edit that out? No.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Before the motion, I'd like to just point out that we have a unusual circumstance in that we don't have the warrants here to sign. So 3 of us, and actually better if all 5 of us at one point or another in the next few days, made it down to the central office during business hours, and they were in a forward, just ask Sue at the door, and they will bring them out, and you can sit and go through.
These are the warrants that were sent electronically.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the ones that were sent electronically are the SU ones.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to ask to see if we could get the Brattleboro Town School Board ones sent electronically as well, because that way we could review them, because we don't really have time at the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the past, we would, and it just gradually changed, but the warrants were always signed down there. And people went in and there were little stickies, and if you had questions, you'd write the questions and they would prepare answers and stuff. So this is a kind of a modern opportunity for that. So can I have a motion to, for that?
I move we approve the warrants pending everybody's signing,
And the
with
minutes?
everybody signing them. And move we approve the warrants, the minutes, and the agenda.
The minutes from March 6th and March 26th.
Yes.
Seconded by Robin. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This is,
And then do we need a separate motion to get the digital copies of the warrants? Or that's
We don't need to,
No.
they'll just do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just have like.
it's an observation, it's unusual to just, for all my attention to be on all of you, because everybody's involved, we're the only ones that have to.
So the technical aspect is I need to stop at the central office in the next couple of days. And that's the SU?
No, just the
As
Brattleboro
well?
Town.
Just
School.
You don't have to
the
sign
Brattleboro
the
Town
SU.
School.
The SU ones were just FYI.
Yes, and we'll talk about
Yes.
those
Tomorrow night.
Very good, thank you.
Three
Yes.
nights in a row.
But if you have any questions about them, and if you're not attending, let's bring them up
Gotcha.
tonight, and that way
Yep.
we can take, if the 3 of us that are going, can take any of your
What time is that
questions.
meeting tomorrow?
It is at 6. I
Yes,
know
you-
finance is at
Right,
5:30, so that time's in my brain.
Yeah.
With the
6 at
warrants
the
that we're
Houston.
signing down at central office, so you said if we had questions about them, we just write a question there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
can just put it on a sticky, stick it on there, and we'll find out the answers.
They have office supplies there, so.
Okay, I won't bring them.
Okay.
You've already paid for them.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you paid.
Kelsey, did we vote on the warrants? Then stuff? Okay. So next, committee reports. The policy council, do you know that Andy Davis is going to be your policy council
Didn't know that.
representative? Yeah.
Yay.
I'm very happy.
I have to,
That's
I kind of built you up and the rest of the council and Molly must be too, so high expectations.
Okay, awesome. That's great. We did have policy council, goodness, I think it was a week ago. And we try and alternate our meetings between here and Westminster because we also have duties there. So the meeting was here, and we have a great constituency from Westminster. We have struggled over the past few years to get a lot of Brattleboro folks. And that is because our Westminster community is more traditional in the sense that there are more 2-parent families there, and more folks have businesses at home, so they're available and actually looking forward to going out at night, whereas here we have a lot of more single-parent families with a lot of demand. So we're
It's
thinking
really
that's
different.
why we don't have the representation that we would like to see. So we have a number of foster parents who are policy council representatives, and as we went through our policy council meeting and went through kind of the typical, just as we do the budget report, which I'll come back to. We had an open discussion, we had the opportunity to have open discussion with some of the members at the end of the meeting, particularly those who are foster parents, and talking about some of their challenges and struggles and needs and appreciation for what EES does. And so we're actually going to take those comments and follow up with having members of the management team attend the next policy council meeting, which is slated for the end of April, and we can, okay, so we're not having another April meeting, so it will be here, actually.
Do you have a date yet?
Yes, it's April, I think it's the 24th.
It's
The last Wednesday
Last
of the
Wednesday.
month, yeah. Yes, it's the 24th. So I'll make sure you get a packet.
Great.
That's wonderful. And the budget discussion, because we have now an extension from March 1st until the end of June, so we have $900,000 more to spend in our fiscal year. Really is 12 months bumped to 16 months. So there was conversation about that. Conversation about the fact that that also brings a higher demand for in-kind match. So for every federal dollar spent, we have to come up with 25 cents in in-kind donation in the form of volunteerism, donated items, or donated space, that kind of thing. So we talked about that, and just kind of circling back to my earlier comment, that the council was trying to brainstorm ideas for bringing on more members, particularly from the Brattleboro community. And we are going to have our family fun event, which I will hold and talk about, but that was discussed at the policy council as well.
Could you just sort of briefly describe what happens in this building and in EES and kind of the different sites and the services that you provide for the members?
Yes. So you are sitting in the main hub of early education services. Early Ed Services is the only Head Start or Head Start / Early Head Start program in the state of Vermont that is administered through the public school, and we are the only agency that is a Head Start / state-funded parent-child center. So we're very unique. So my role is that I direct Head Start, Early Head Start, and the Parent-Child Center section of EES. We offer year-round, full-time Head Start and Early Head Start services. In this building, we have all of our Early Head Start classrooms, so those are infants and toddlers. And before the children actually enter the classroom, they can enroll in our home visiting program, our Early Head Start home-based program. So generally, we have 40 slots for generally pregnant families or newborns. And then if families decide that they are needing full-time care, then they sort of transition into the classrooms here. And we have one Early Head Start classroom at WHS, which was the original first classroom of this agency. And we also have 2 Early Head Start classrooms in Westminster. And then children transition at the age of 3. So in this building, they are in the infant classroom, the toddler classroom, the 3-year-old classroom, and the teachers shift with them in a primary care approach model. Then they graduate and they go to the Canal Street on the Hill Head Start program here, and in Westminster they go next door to the building that is the Head Start building on Buck Drive, so we have 2 buildings there. So we provide full-time year-round care. We also have a classroom in partnership with Oak Grove, a pre-K, public pre-K classroom there that operates the school calendar year. Missing anything? No, those are all of our classroom slots and our home-based slots. In addition to that, with some of our Head Start and also our Parent-Child Center funds, we provide a number of parenting supports, workshops. We have a dedicated dads program that we've received national attention and acclaim for over the years. That we work with a lot of dads who are on probation, and they can be, having contact with their child or not, but working toward that goal. And sometimes it's not the biological dad, it could be a father figure in the child's life who participates in the program. We do a number of parenting workshops. Right now we're doing Nurturing Parents, We have a parent support group who meets here during the week, and then one night in the evening. Nurturing Parents is a curriculum-based 6 or 8 week module program. We do play groups out in the community. We also have a Welcome Babies program, so every child who is born in the hospitals in our community or moves in young family with young children receive a Welcome Baby visit by volunteers and or our Parent-Child Center coordinator, and they receive a bag of goodies that basically includes resource and referral information for the family, small gifts from local businesses, and our strawberry or blueberry caps that are knitted by we have one person who has been knitting these caps for us for many years. In fact, we devoted our annual report to her this year. And that's kind of our signature piece. We see those.
I see those around
in the
town.
community. Yeah.
Deb, what is family, infant, toddler woven into what you do? Is that a separate
So
program?
FIT,
What's that relationship?
so that we're partners, and I don't think that FIT even exists anymore. It's sort of merged into some of the newer state design systems, and that's hosted at Winston Crowdy Center. But we're in partnership.
Does it have a new name now?
Well, I think it all falls under Children's Integrated Services. Yeah,
But they're a partner of yours.
absolutely, yes.
Children Integrated
Yes.
Services.
And we did, you're correct in your question in that many, many years ago, we did have FIT here.
Well, it served my family, so that's why I asked.
Yes.
It wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
So I have a question about the pre-K at Oak Grove.
Yes.
So since that's a relatively new program, is it the case that you're thinking that Head Start at Canal Street would always maintain a separateness, or that you would go, the models of Head Start, or maybe Head Start in such an innovative place, are going more towards the Oak Grove setup?
That's an excellent question, and the quick answer is we are in a constant state of looking for any and all possibilities and optimal possibilities. This partnership has been very successful. We're in our second year. We are always looking for new opportunities. My personal belief is that we should not have exclusive classrooms, and that we would look at blended classrooms, so we're constantly on the move for those kinds of possibilities.
I don't know, did you receive the monthly DES report in your email this week?
I sent it, Emily, I need to send it to you. I sent it, Andy, I did put it in your WSESU
Okay,
account, so
I
you have it.
have to.
Yeah.
I will.
That really articulates a lot of the things like the dental checkups, the well-being, all the health visits,
Deb forwarded it to Emily right
yes,
now.
all the
Thank
data.
you.
So that's a really useful tool that comes everybody. Thank you, Deb. Energy Committee, I know did not meet, so we can skip that. SU Finance?
We are meeting tomorrow.
Okay. And do we have an executive committee update?
Yeah.
Right, resides there until,
We will. And I think we probably will not.
is this the last SU meeting of the season?
We should have one more in June.
Right, but if we're becoming a merge,
Yeah.
there's no point in
Well, yeah.
discussing that, taking the time
So
on
it's
the
got
executive
another month or
committee.
so to live here, and then
Yes.
either it'll die or we'll. And then the Diversity Committee.
Yes, I cannot find my notes from that meeting, which was on March 13th, but we had a discussion of a reading from the Howardson Voices of the People book that's relevant to the theme that's the theme of the Diversity Day celebration this year, and we talked a bit about planning for that event. And the other discussion I'm noticing on my agenda was about how to support families more. Lyle, do you remember what was discussed about that?
Because I wasn't there, I was in.
Oh, that's right. All right, I'm gonna find, which I could not find in my email, the minutes from that, and I'll report more extensively on this at our next meeting. I'm just
Could I just add one thing though?
Yes.
Because we will not be meeting again before Diversity Day.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
we really want all of you to make sure that you attend, bring your kids, students. the-
Yes.
Friday, May 3rd.
Friday, May 3rd, it's 5 to 8. It's going to be similar to last year's event where there's a block party in Elliott Street, corner of Elliott and Main, and there's also going to be student art and work that they've done on these topics at 118 Elliott. And there's going to be some indoor events probably focused on younger kids down at that space. And
What are the hours of the event?
5 to 8.
Music.
Yeah, performances. Mariah, did you have a?
Does it have a title? Like, what was the event?
Voices of the People is the theme, but the title of the event is Community Celebration of Diversity.
Okay.
So question about the different councils. So I know we can attend, but if we couldn't attend, are the minutes accessible?
It's a policy council?
Yeah. Or any of the
Yeah.
diversity meetings?
Policy council minutes, yes, they're accessible, they're posted on our website.
And what is your website? Is it one of the boards listed in the district, or is it your own
It's in
website?
there. I think it's in there.
It's listed along with WSESU and,
Well, I just
we'll
have-
find it.
I don't know, because I think we kind of do diversity every year on the same day.
Yes.
I don't know if we should share that with the athletic department at the high school, because I know baseball, softball, boys lacrosse all have away games.
Friday nights.
On that Friday. I mean, that's just something that I'm looking at.
I will say that the football team is, often participates in the Buddy Walk in September, and they're an incredible addition. They come down with the coach and they participate as volunteers, and so if we had it on a day they could participate, they'd probably jump at it.
Right, yeah.
Robin, I have one question about the diversity committee. Do you have a draft? You got a draft of the equity goals?
Yes, that was something we had talked about at the previous meeting.
And will that come before us, or will you approve the draft, or will that get?
I don't think we had come back to talk about that at our most recent meeting, so I will definitely forward that on once we were presented with the draft, and then everyone's gonna think on it and then come back and discuss that as our script.
Great, just wanted to keep up with
I
that.
think that might go
Thank
for
you.
the SU, seeing the university's part of the SU.
Right,
Yeah,
Not
that's
the
different.
right, but I can
Yeah.
still share the,
So- No, definitely, but I
Results.
think in terms of voting, it would be at the SU level.
Can you say briefly what the scope of the equity goals?
well, it's, let me see if I can find it in here. It's basically about trying to ensure that all students have an equal access to their educational experience, but there's a lot of kind of categories of how that's accomplished.
Sandy, I've got a copy of the draft.
Okay, love to see
Okay,
it.
I
thanks.
mean, yeah.
Because
maybe
isn't
that's
that
something you
committee
can email out
technically
to
called the
everybody.
Diversity and Equity Committee? Because that was, I used to be on that committee.
Yeah,
And we used to highlight
yeah,
that.
it's the same one.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think some people for short call it the Diversity Committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the equity piece is, in some ways, has more traction.
Well, especially going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, I think we're moving along pretty
Thank you.
well, and I wanted to make sure we had time for, folks to get information, so but I'm gonna try to move this a little more quickly now, because it was a long night last night, and I don't want it to be a
Do we
long
have
one
to meet tomorrow
tonight.
night?
And yeah, for 3 of you, it's again tomorrow night. I would be surprised if Andy and I showed up too. But you folks get to that. So I'm gonna move us along to administrative reports and communications.
So I'll just hand out a flyer to our family, about our Family Fun Day that's happening here on April 27th. Everybody's invited from 10 to 12. It's going to look a lot like the one we did last year, where we had a great turnout. The Annies will be here, face painting. We'll have nutritious snack making, seed planting, bag decorating, free lunches for the first 200 folks who show up. So please spread the word.
Big party.
Yeah. And I think I've taken up enough time with my policy council report that kind of covers the basis,
Yep.
so I'll
Great,
leave
thank
it
you.
at that.
Oh, the forms that are coming around now are the format that the administrators, well, we and the administrators developed over, I think, for a few years to kind of refine the kind of information we wanted to see every month or so. And
And it's all in the same
yeah, it's all pretty much
location.
in the same format, and there are a couple of things, like some things will be estimated, or it says fewer than 10, and that's because it's fewer than 10, so the individuals are identifiable, so we don't put a number there. But basically, what I ask you to do is look these over, you can look over now, and Mark will talk about it, but you'll get 2 more, and then look through and see if there's anything else you would like to have, or wonder why it's there, or that we could add, or that's of particular interest to you, you'd like to have information about. And you'll see a lot of the dates and things on the back for upcoming events and stuff. It's a lot of information, but we can always adjust it if there are things you'd like to see. So, thanks, Mike.
Okay. So the month of March was really busy at Green Street School. We had a lot going on. We've become more efficient in our programming and been able to streamline things. So we're able to offer lots of programs in March, which typically happen in the spring. So it's a really exciting month. And I'm going to start on this form where it says student programming. So I'm going to skip down from the statistics. Our after-school program, third and final session is starting up this week. We started on Monday. And Andy, I brought you kind of a catalog of what we're offering this spring. The rest of the board has it.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
And I met with Emily today. So thanks for that. But for the year, when we conclude this spring, we'll have offered about 50 different programs through our after-school programming, with many different types of programming. So each and every year, it has grown, and I think it's a really impressive program with lots of teacher participation. And typically throughout the school year, we have 70% of our kids accessing the program at any given session. And typically the spring session is 80 to 90%. So just like to highlight that again. The very next one down, this is exciting. We've had a Destination Imagination team at the school for 4 years now. The last 2 years, we've had a team go up to Burlington, Vermont and finish in second place in their competition. This year we had 2 teams go up. Our primary grade kids finished in third place, and then we had a 4th grade squad finish in first place. So it's exciting. They're really happy. They came back to school with trophies. But with that first place finish, they actually have been invited to Kansas City for a global event of Destination Imagination. So if they were able to partake in this opportunity, they'd be seeing kids from all over the world. It's not just a national group. You'd have kids from all over the world. So many different countries are represented. At first I thought the parents were thinking, you know, this is too much to now go out to Missouri for 4 days. But they actually had a parent meeting with our coach, Tracy Benet Perrin, this week, and they're considering doing that. However, that would require money.
Fundraising.
How much?
So it's about $10,000, which is, you know, a big chunk of change. I've been in touch with Frank Rucker. I've let Lyle know. Frank is looking around to see if we can get creative, find some line items that might be able to fit with the student activities. So my hope is that at some point here, I'm able to come to you with a proposal of funding this trip. And it would be sending 5 4th graders with 1 parent each the coach, Tracy Benet Parent, to go and experience kind of a global event and be able to participate in it. And then part of the rationale is that this exposure would bring more kids' interest into doing this type of work. So I don't know if you have questions about that now, but I'm hoping at a future meeting, Tracy can come, present the reason why we want to move forward with this, and then hopefully we will have some type of a funding plan proposal that the school board would have to determine yes or no.
What's the date?
Yeah.
It's May, I think it's May 25th. Not much time. Late May.
Right, so it'd have to be our next meeting.
Yeah.
We'd have to approve that.
So,
Other questions?
Is that 10,000 estimate cost of just travel, food and hotel, or is there a fee to participate in it?
it's the registration, the travel, hotel, and food. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you thought about the various endowments asking? Okay. Not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm curious if the Destination Imagination organization gives any guidance on funding these trips.
So we've applied for assistance, financial assistance. We haven't heard back yet. They just won this thing last weekend.
Right.
So it's a really quick
Yeah,
turnaround.
it's like
And you have
really
till,
And it's Wednesday and you're not all.
you have till tomorrow to figure this out.
Right.
They give you an extra month, it's not April.
So we're trying to move as quickly as we can to kind of make this experience happen. It may not, but we're kind of giving it the go for it.
Okay.
See if we can make it happen.
And how long is the trip?
4 days.
Over a weekend, over a week? Out of the
That's a
school?
good question. I think it's probably maybe partial.
Partial weekend.
That's like, that's
But they'd be
Memorial Day
exposed
weekend,
to
something?
just
It's
some
Memorial Day
incredible
weekend.
Yeah.
experiences for kids all over the world, so we'll see. I think after this year, we're gonna start a fundraiser and have a line item in our PTO for Destination Imagination. So if we come to this again, we're more prepared.
It's sort of like, oh no, we won first place, now we're doing it.
Right.
Oh, no.
But that's the exciting update. During this next section, school-wide events, point out a couple of things. We had all-district band night on March 12th. It was a great night. There were some really wonderful performances from all of our area bands. And Green Street was really impressive. We had about 30 kids in a very large percussion section. They had a really powerful performance. So I wanted to highlight that. You can see the various field trips taking place. Upcoming events, the final two down there at the bottom. We have a contra dance on Friday night with our own Andy Davis.
And a live band.
And that's a
Are you the whole
Brattleboro,
band?
No, I get 2 musicians.
that's a Brattleboro Town event. So it's at Green Street School, but we're hoping Oak Grove and Academy families show up as well. And then next Monday, we have a community breakfast for kindergarten through 2nd grade. So in our gymnasium, 7:45 to 8:30, we'll have a community breakfast. We have some Vermont State legislators coming down, will be joining us as well. And then on the back page, I'm going to skip to parent and community events. We were able to produce 2 plays in the month of March. The Gruffalo, March 14th, with grades 1 through 3. They did an all-school event and then had an evening performance on the 14th, which was really well attended. And then our really big show, our school musical, Shrek, just this past week. We had a school performance on the 28th, and then 2 evening performances on the 28th and 29th. And the evening performances were standing room only. So the kids were really super excited. Robin.
Yes, well, very well received by my audience members.
Yeah, so appreciate that. And yeah, I really feel like our drama program is really taking off. That's our 3rd year in a row of doing a school musical. We're already starting to plan for next year. Just a few more, I'm sorry, there's a lot in March. Facility updates, we're still moving forward, looking at how to implement a rooftop garden. Talked about this at the last board meeting, but I have a committee, we've been meeting every 2 weeks. Next Friday, we'll be meeting down at the Renault Brothers kind of site. They have some bridges down there, so we're going to actually be looking at bridges to see how we could, if that would be a possibility. Because the idea would be that the rooftop garden is a town garden. We would run it as a school. It'd probably be closed out during the school day, but outside of school hours, it would be open access to the community.
How would people get onto the roof?
From a bridge.
Oh, like a bridge into the Kroll lot?
Like, the bridge would go from the roof and it would connect to the pathway that goes to the Crow lot.
Okay,
Because the Crow lot's actually higher than the roof.
Right.
So you wouldn't want a bridge going this way.
okay.
So it would connect right into that pathway. This would all be grant funded, you know, big goals, and dreaming big here, but we have some people on this committee who are really dedicated and feel like, you know, if we keep moving forward, we could make something happen. So we're kind of taking it one meeting at a time. And then lastly, we'll be working with Judy Maynard on tomorrow and Friday with some math professional development. We worked extensively with her last year, so we're continuing that. And we do have a food pantry up and running at the school. So we're actively handing out bags of food to families in need. Last one, our kindergarten team was asked to present at a statewide conference in Burlington last week. They presented on about our work around resiliency, trauma-informed practices, and their course was sold out. So they presented to about 40 people with a room capacity of 30, so it was really well received. And we were invited to go do that through our work with this agency of education the last few years, so that was exciting. Really busy month.
Yeah.
Hopefully this
Good
spring.
thing we'll get a week off this
Yeah.
Okay. You're next.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I always enjoy following you. Okay. We did have, the first page does talk about some new entries. We had a new family moving to the area from Nigeria, so it's been wonderful to have them join our community. And we also had a family that had 3 children that moved to upstate Vermont, so that's where you see the new entries and the move-ins and the transfers. Student programming, kind of just finished off from our session 2. We'll be picking up session 3 the week we come back from vacation. But some new things we have, where one of our paraeducators offered to do something that's called Let's Play Ball on Fridays. And you know, she's like, I don't know what it's going to be. We're just going to run with it. And so it was in the gym, and they had a blast. It was for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. She's a pair works with 1st graders, so it was you know, they playing some kickball. They're playing some different types, just kind of gym games, and just seeing how much fun that they have, and the kids were learned to be cooperative, and it wasn't just about the competition, and she had so much fun. She's like, can I do it again? And I'm like, yeah, so she's going to offer another Let's Play Ball 2 in our 3rd session. We also have a para who has been in the Brattown talent show for a couple of years, the Brattleboro, Wyndham County Got Talent, and even though they don't after first place, they don't do second place, I always tell her, I said, you won second. You get second. So she offered a baton and other activities, and again, you can see that they have 14. And we have to kind of limit the number of kids, so there are a lot of kids who were interested in performing that, or participating, we had to turn them away, so I'm sure we'll see that coming back as a regular activity as well. Some of the assemblies that we also had the Harlem Rockets come. We had a net assembly that we tag teamed on to Academy. It was a woman, NED stands for Never Give Up, Encourage Others, and Do Your Best. And she does magic tricks, she does like yo-yos and all that kind of stuff. She was wonderful. Yeah, she really, kids were just like, oh my gosh, it was awesome. So it was really hot, a lot of energy, high energy, and nice thing is that, part of the program is that they sell yo-yos, so now the kids are, buying yo-yos and they're outside doing their yo-yos. And we have on staff Tom Yonner, who also has a lot of circus in his background. And so he today at All School Sing was doing yo-yo and teaching some of the kids some of the tricks. So he's going to do some little things after school or even at lunchtime. He invites kids upstairs because it's like kids have these yo-yos, and now it's like, okay, now what do I do with it? I had one student today was like, I can't figure out how to restring a yo-yo. You're going to have to go see Mr. Yonner. It was too hard for me. So that was fun. And then we had the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. They do something that's called the Musical Petting Zoo, which is kind of an odd kind of name, but for kindergarten through 4th grade, they brought all these different instruments that you would find in an orchestra, and they just set them up, and the gentleman puts on a little gear like he's like from a petting zoo, but really the zoo are all his instruments, and the petting part is because they allow kids just to, after he does a little beginning intro, then they just explore and they play with them and they bang on them, and it's loud, and they toot the horn and they try it. It's beautiful. So they had a great time, and so it was really nice to have them. What's not here on the list, but I don't know if I mentioned before, a playground. I have a playground committee that is formed out of my PTO because at least twice a year PTO sets up playground beautification days on Saturdays, and we just get a whole bunch of people who come out and have different ideas, and we're like painting the blacktop, or we're putting up new pieces of equipment, or we're updating our gardens, and so thinking about, okay, this spring having another playground beautification, but what really is the overall vision? We're talking about expanding our garden a little bit. We have Edible Brattleboro, who's donating 3 Asian pear trees to our yard. So where are we going to put those? We built the Wangari benches last year around the Wangari tree, and so it just seems that we have a lot of space, but we have a lot of interest to do more, and so we're really looking at right now talking to different vendors who would be available to for hire, obviously, but to be landscape architects, but with an they do educational playground. So the idea would be that we would have more zoned areas for play space, for education, classroom opportunities, for certainly our garden, fitness, creative play for kids, and so that's kind of on our big spring thing, spring happenings with this playground committee and with PTO is to think about investing in a person who can come and give us kind of a vision, so that once we have the big vision, then we can phase it over time, think about what can we as the parents do on these weekends, and then what are some other ways ways that we can get donations over the years to make that vision come true. And let's see. I think there's just some different upcoming events that we have. Oh, yes, Friday, if you're not doing anything, Friday morning, come to Eggs and Equations. That is our family breakfast. We're having eggs, and we're going to do some like math games. And we've been doing, all of our kiddos in grades K to 6 have been doing problem of the month. And so they'll have posters, so you can see this kind of the same vision of the same math problem over the different grades. And then we're going to have sheets of paper with just some different equations, just to try to, get parents to kind of play around with some numbers in the morning.
What time is breakfast?
Breakfast is from 7:45 till 9 o'clock. We usually start like sending people home. But if they stay, they stay. So that's Friday, and we do on Monday also have a Vermont legislature coming to the school to have lunch with our student leadership council.
The same day as what?
Yes, I think they're going
Different
to.
Breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jerry's is lunch.
And then
Oh, they're coming to lunch at yours, but this is a family breakfast, so.
Friday is family breakfast. Monday is
Monday
when.
is lunch. Gotcha, thank you.
Yes. And yeah, I'm good.
Thanks,
All right,
Sharon.
thanks. Oh, and thank you, Emily, for coming. Emily came to the school to see Oak Grove, being kind of new to the board. Andy lived at our school for a long time, so but I really appreciated the opportunity to show you off our school. So thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, everybody, because you've all been so gracious about kind of inviting me into your schools and then taking the time. So, thank you.
It's great to have you. All right. Academy School. I expanded our HCRS and social worker caseload box to include Soxy the dog because she's really become a crucial staff member at this point. We just adore her. She's been coming every Wednesday with Lori Macy, who's her owner, our HCRS clinician, and we're hoping to expand it to 2 days a week. So her schedule fills up. It's like a shared Google Doc, and the second it's put out, everyone's on there clamoring for their little slot. But and in a day, she's seeing, a lot of kids individually. She's going into classrooms. She's walking the halls, and every staff member, John and I fight for a turn to pet her, and it's just been amazing to have her here at our school. It's just been a big thing for us, so we're happy about that.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
This is HCRS and social worker caseload, and it's 26 families. That's among those 2 people?
That is,
Or
so
is
where it says the Family Engagement and Education Coordinator, that's Jody. She has 26
She has 26,
families
okay.
specifically.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yep, and then HCRS has her other caseload
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
Wait, what's the 25% refer to?
That is the total number of the kids combined that they both see.
25% of the school population sees one of those.
Yeah.
See
Okay.
services from those.
Yep. I felt like their health office visits was particularly notable this month.
That's pretty high.
Yep.
I did math, it looks like it's like about 5 hours if it's just 5 minutes per visit, which we know is not an accurate time.
And I've seen it's just been a line out of the health office door. And we have a full-time nurse and then a part-time nurse para, but yeah, it's just been, maybe it's because we had more days this month than last month, but it's really been a busy place. The needs kind of seem more acute to me. There's more kids coming who need basic needs met.
Bronchial stuff.
Just
Yeah.
basic
Everything.
hygiene, clothing, they need to be washed. So that's it's just kind of a growing need that we always have, but it was a little more notable to me this past month than it has been. And I'm not sure what the factor is that made it more, but it's growing.
you have 442 diabetic encounters. Is that just checking? A large majority of that is just checking numbers? Okay.
It's often communication between the nurse's office and
Okay.
the classroom staff around
Yeah.
levels.
All right. I mean, and I know that needs to be checked
Right.
constantly, so
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that's
Yes.
majority of what those were.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, there were no emergencies.
Perfect.
Those are, yeah.
What is it meant by regular visits? Is that just people who they always come every day and see her, or?
No, I think that's someone with a stomachache, headache.
Sort of.
Oh,
Can I
okay.
go see the
Yeah.
nurse?
I see.
I have a Google over
Standard,
here.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Just the regular kids
Yeah.
having their regular problems.
Just a little comfort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going down to student programming, we just started our third session also this week. We've expanded this year, we've added a few programs. Card collecting has become wildly popular. There's about 20 kids, I think, in the program, and it's like Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Pokemon, and they do different cards every week, but this club has just been,
We got boxes too.
and a sixth grader started it, which is kind of cool. So he planned it, he did the permission slip with the help of the staff, and so he's really proud. We've also added outdoor adventure, chess club, and other board games, and naturalist and wilderness club. And not listed on here, but notable is we have Girls on the Run going with 27 girls, which is great. Looking at the other side, we also had the Ned show, that was great. On Friday, it looks like Friday's a busy day for all of us. We have a family bingo night, and that was planned as a Month of the Young Child event. So it's a free event. It's just for fun. We just wanted families to come play. So Friday night, there'll be pizza by donation, popcorn, and bingo. And then the 3 schools, we've collaborated with local first responders to have a school safety night on the 10th. I don't know if you guys, did you actually talk about it?
No, I am.
So we did it last year, it was great, and we collaborate so much with our first responders, but I think it's important to come together for the parents and have time for them to ask questions about our school plans and our town plan as a whole. So that's happening at 6 o'clock at Academy School on the 10th. Ann Braden is coming to visit on the 12th with grades 4, 5, and 6. They all did class reads of the benefits of being an octopus. And so she's coming to talk about that. And then that afternoon, this is the day before break, so this should be like a really interesting day, is our variety show, which is always a really fun show to watch. That'll be at 12:45 and 1:30, 2 showings, so feel free to come by and see that. There's also, it's not on here, but we're having a first responder breakfast on the 25th, and that's at 8:45. So feel free to come on over for that. I believe we're having pancakes, and it'll be kindergarten and first grade in the gym. Other than that, we've had some really great family breakfasts. Today was our last one for grades K1. We followed each one with a workshop with our Title I staff. Each one had a different focus. Today they talked about the benefits of healthy sleep and some math and literacy games that people can play at home. So they sent home handouts for that.
Kelly, quick, the first responders breakfast, they're coming for breakfast, or?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's on the 26th?
25th.
5th, I got it
Yeah.
wrong.
I can email it to you too.
Oh, I got it.
Sorry, I left it off today. Our phones have been upgraded. They are now E911 compliant. That was a big sort of project, but they're great. They're working well. We have a meeting coming up with an engineer to talk about the feasibility study that they've been doing with our grounds to just basically talk about where we might put an addition. So I'll update you more as I know more about that. And I do have a couple of actionable items. I don't know if you want them now or now is good. Okay.
So first, I have a letter of resignation, but it's not a super sad one because we still have this person in the district. So last year, you may remember Teen BLC moved to the position of math coach for the district, and that was as a one-year position. So we filled her 5th grade classroom at Academy with a 1-year teacher position. And she has learned that her position has become permanent as math coach. She's doing a phenomenal job. And I'll just read the second part of her letter. She loved working at Academy as a 5th grade teacher for over a decade. It's a great school filled with dedicated, talented, and caring staff. She feels so fortunate that she gets to continue working with them with the goal of improving mathematical instruction and student learning and engagement in mathematics. So it's the perfect job for her. She's crazy about math. So we get to see her all the time, all of us, and she's really done a great job. So
Yes, she has.
I would ask the board to move to approve her letter of resignation and then permission to hire for a permanent 5th grade teacher.
We have a motion
I move we accept the resignation with regrets.
and approve for moving on to the next coach.
Second.
We can't approve
Oh, we
that.
can't approve that, but we approve.
Yes.
And we have a second? Okay, any discussion? I don't know anybody else had Teen for their 5th grade teacher, but Molly did, and she's terrific.
Jack had her, and he loved her.
Yeah.
And
Makes
everybody
kids
loves
love
math.
it. Okay, so.
And by sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Abstentions? Done.
The other actionable, or sort of just informing you, is we had a current 2nd grade teacher interview for the academic support position that was, I told you about a couple months ago or a month ago. Kathy Casson is retiring. She's been there for a long time, so she is going to move into that position. And so I would need your permission to hire a 2nd grade teacher. And I also have posted a 3rd grade opening because that was a 1-year position. You may remember we had a surprise resignation from Esther Bailing late in the summer. So we made that position a 1-year. So I'd like to hire as a permanent 3rd grade teacher.
So do you have candidates for those 2 positions you want us to approve? They're not, okay.
I don't have for hire yet, just letting you know that that the jobs are posted, we'll be interviewing. I don't need a motion,
Right.
but just letting you know that we'll be, hopefully,
back.
next meeting, I'll be asking you to hire 2 classroom teachers.
And
Who's the
typically-
2nd grade teacher? Who's,
Jean Schultz.
okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what about going back to the 5th grade teacher? Are you putting that out, or
I
are you
wanted to
going
get your permission to rehire before I posted that.
Okay.
So as of tonight, I'll post that. Yeah. So hopefully, really, we'll have 3 to hire.
Great. Yeah, and if for some reason do we want to do a conditional motion, if for some reason you need to act between now and then, it's fine.
That would be
Yes,
great,
okay.
since we are
We don't want to lose
This,
the candidates.
it's not untypical to do that, since we're not going to be there for a month, so
I'd be
motion
happy
to that effect?
to email you their resume too, or like our new hire sheet.
That'd be great.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Can we email resumes?
Can I do that?
I don't think we can.
Or the summary, how about just?
Yeah,
Yeah.
summary.
Yeah, I just don't
Okay.
think
Yeah,
we can
we
email
created
resumes.
that sort of
Do
summary
they need to
page.
work on this? I mean, we're
I know,
completely
I know.
confidential.
No, I know, but I don't know, because we always have to hand them back in.
Yeah, we could do a summary page, that would be
Yeah.
good. But we don't want
You
to lose
can't have an
candidates.
email back.
Right.
I know we can't hand the email back, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, so motion to conditionally approve the hires for 5th, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th grade at Academy School.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Quick question first.
Discussion?
Hopefully this is a simple question. Are we, as the Brattleboro Town School Board, authorized to do those hires through this transition period? Is there a short answer to that question?
Well, we're always, it's in the statute that we hire, but the way it operates is that the principals choose people and bring them to us, and we approve their choices. And with principals, Lyle, the superintendent, has to present us with candidates, but if they don't like the candidate we choose, then they have to start over again. But
But that's
We
just
basically
going to
go
go on.
through this process.
Well, our board still
We're
has the jurisdiction
yeah.
through July 1st, and that's the
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I was curious
Oh,
about.
Yeah.
Simple technical.
More information.
July
than you
1st
need.
is a big date.
Or not, we'll
Or
see.
not.
Exactly.
Or at least
So
July.
all in
Not going into
favor
that
of the
conversation now.
conditional motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
On to me? All right, so Jerry, John, Kelly, and Mark and representatives from EES were at a FEMA training for 2 days, and with follow-up, creating all hazards-ready schools. We think about the worst-case scenario often, but this was really having us look at more typical scenarios of things that might happen when we have big crowds, and all of a sudden there's a big weather event coming through. What do we have in place, and what are we going to do? So we all were at that, and then Friday, first responders are joining our WSESU leadership meeting for the morning, again with some scenarios. We'll be working in groups, talking about what would we do in these cases. So, I think it's important for you to know that school safety is always on our minds. We're working on it all the time, in the last few weeks, definitely. So I also will be going to lunch at Academy School with legislators on the 8th. Also, you may have remembered me saying that there is no Southeast representative on either the Senate Ed or the House Ed committees. And that means from Hartford to us and west to Wilmington, Windsor, Springfield, all of us. So the Southeast superintendents have reached out to our legislators and had met with them once before the session. We had a second session with them scheduled and got snowed out in January. So we are meeting with them next Tuesday, and we feel it's better for us to be proactive and let them know here are the concerns that we have in terms of education, because we have no one on those committees. It was interesting, last Thursday was a statewide superintendent's meeting, and we generally sit in our sort of areas, and the legislators were, House Ed and Senate legislators were invited to have lunch with us, and of course, there was no one there for us. We sort of felt like maybe we were at the kids' table or something, you know? So it's very interesting to us that no one from our area has on either of those committees. So.
The committees were Education,
Senate and House Ed.
I think it's breakfast and lunch on the school district.
How many legislators are on those committees?
I would say at least.
There's seven on the Senate Ed, and I think it's more like 11 on
Yeah,
House Ed, or
it
maybe
seems like,
more.
yeah.
Is it typical that there's at least
Yes.
one
It would
person from each
seem
county
that there
in
would,
the?
at least on one of the two, there would be some.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
typically
one
on
of them.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I brought Code of Ethics for you, but knowing that we have 2 new members, I was thinking maybe we would, and it's not, I don't see it on our agenda, I would table that and maybe send it out to you so you could read it over, and then we could put it on our next agenda. Does that make sense? Okay. I have one more thing. I am hoping not to be too emotional when I read this to you, but I am going to read a letter to you. So, dear Lyle, for the past few months, I've been grappling with the idea of retirement as I complete my 30th year as a Vermont educator. There are many factors that come into making a life-changing decision besides personal finances and age. I have spent time envisioning life without nightly emails, board meetings, facility dilemmas, scheduling events, or worrying that I have all the pieces in place in case of an emergency. I have imagined the quietness throughout my day without the laughter and voices of children, engaged in learning and questioning why. I've wondered how my time would be filled without professional learning opportunities and companionship with my district colleagues. But mostly, I have questioned whether my tears are for joy of moving on or the sadness of leaving behind. Choosing to retire on July 1, 2019 was not an easy decision, but I realize it will never be easy. My years with WSESU have been the most rewarding, challenging, and inspiring in all my years as an educator. There are many people to thank who helped to shape my career from middle school health teacher to an elementary school principal, including Andy Petrilli, who offered me a position at VAMS 22 years ago, and Ingrid Crisco, who saw my leadership potential. While my path ahead may seem blurry at the moment, I know the light shines brightly on the memories I will cherish forever of all. School sings, community dinners, winter carnivals, family breakfasts, first responder luncheons, classroom visits, morning welcomes, spontaneous hugs, and the simpleness of kind and caring relationships. I love my job. I love the children and families we serve every day in this demanding role. Selfishly, I wonder if you will ever find someone who is as compassionate and dedicated to the students and families of Oak Grove. But then I remember the strength of my staff, the support of my families, the resiliency of my students, and I know Oak Grove will continue to soar as side by side we are better together. Thank you, Lyle, for your vision, your leadership, your collegiality, and your courage as a female leader. Sincerely, Jerry Curry. So I would ask that you accept with regret.
No way.
Not doing it.
Okay, I accept that. That sounds good.
Can we block that? Well, you certainly have earned that. It made me cry.
So where are we going from here?
We're just going home and ignoring that whole, can we edit that out, please, and just delete it? Never happened.
We need a motion to accept Jerry's retirement.
I move with immense and incredible regret that we accept and reject it.
Just getting used to it.
Seconded.
Does anybody want to vote in favor of this?
Absolutely not.
Well, I would just say that, and again, I was at Oak Grove for many years, and I worked with many principals, and you came in a time when there was some turbulence in the staff, and you brought an incredible steady hand of trust that really put things in a good way that I know has continued through that. And I'm forever grateful for that. And it was noticed by across the board.
Thank you. And I know my kids had Jerry when she was at the middle school. And was so fortunate when you moved over to the elementary school to be able to work with you.
Thanks, Andy, for adding that personal note, because I think it's, we recognize how valuable you've been, and it's going to be really hard to find somebody to fill your shoes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, Jerry.
So I think we can vote to affirm Jerry's life choice.
It's an affirmation of you.
We affirm you and your chair.
Not anything we
It's
want
the
to
only
see
way I
happen.
will vote for it. Well, please.
Yes, very well deserved retirement.
Yeah. So all in favor of wishing Jerry well?
Regretfully in favor.
Yes.
Thank you.
I need to find a job. Just kidding.
You're pretty good on the basketball team.
You could travel with them.
Yeah, travel with them. Yeah, that's kind of comical.
So you folks get to follow that. I wish we had chairs enough around the table to bring you up and in with us, but we're here to talk about how to go about having somebody from our pre-K partners join us as a board. We have no idea how long that will be for, although I suspect that, if we merge and I'm on that board, I'll certainly ask that we include pre-K people, so from the pre-K, and obviously from EES on the board as well. So there's a future, so that sure is. And I think we haven't really talked about this.
I think they have moved board chairs. Could they come up and sit?
Yeah, is it possible? Yeah, that'd be great.
Because there's one right here. So you just need two maybe.
Thanks, I mean, that's a really good idea. We're going to divide you up. You get to, one of you gets the carpet circle. Thank you for,
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
so, we haven't really talked about this, but I think the general sense is that we'd like you to choose from among yourselves who would be a good person to come. And we haven't talked at all about what your role would be. Obviously, legally, you can't be board members, but I'm assuming full participation.
Well, it seems like it would be more similar to the structure of how of the other people that are part of these meetings, not the board members.
Yeah.
Right, so just someone to come and give information, updates, and advice.
A report similar to what you see. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I think it's great that, especially as a person just listening to all the wonderful things that are happening in all of your schools, I really feel informed by that. And we just would like you to have that perspective, along with all the great programming that you do, of some of the programming and things that are going on in our schools.
Would you tell the home audience your name, please?
I'm Serena Keppel, and I'm representing Hilltop Montessori School, but also a lot of other schools that are partners as well.
So would you like one report from all the different programs? Like a condensed report? I'm guessing not 13 reports.
It's a hard question for us to answer because we haven't done this before. We don't know what would be. I think it's what would be most useful for you as far as getting us information that we can use, that we can either use to support you or that the public would hear, or that we just think we should know about.
Could you just introduce yourself and what is the scope of your vision? The three of you are here together, right? What are the programs that you're speaking about?
My name is Mariah Carney. I'm the lead teacher and director at Westby Nursery School in West Brattleboro. I've been there for 13 years, and I've been Act 166 partner for the last 12 years. So my vision was that we just have a voice as partners, so you know what's going on in our programs, and because technically these are your children.
Because Act 66 funds public school students into private placements.
So the funds cover 10 hours of preschool programming for 35 weeks. So there's a criteria that we have to follow. You have to be a licensed teacher, use the Vermont Early Learning Standards, be part of the STARS program, and then contracts with
It's Vermont's response to universal pre-K.
Yeah.
And we have 12 partners plus EES.
And I'm Dora Levinson. I work for Building Bright Futures, which covers the region I cover is Southeast Vermont, and so just bringing people to the table, bringing the voices of everyone together.
Right. Can someone just quickly list the schools that are in the program? Is that really? Yeah.
I heard your name, but I don't know.
My name is Serena Keppel, and I'm representing Hilltop Montessori School, which is one of the partners, licensed educator for the preschool partnership through Act 166. But we're also representing a lot of the other partners who couldn't all come tonight. And Lyle, I wonder if you could send Andy and Emily the document that we put together.
That'd be great. Yeah, I don't have to hear it out loud. I just want to know what the scope of those programs was.
Good thing we had a meeting where they all came and spoke, so that'd be a good one to review too. It was at Oak Grove. Was it in January?
Yes, I think it was
February. Okay.
Brattleboro Town School Board meeting.
Yeah.
In
focused on
January, February. Might have been the first one in February. So.
And would it be that your group, who has representatives from broader bases schools, would be electing somebody to come and sit on this? Is that how?
That was the thought. We were thinking of a couple people, just due to scheduling, we might like have one person come all the time and then have someone else to be able to fill in. And then go back to share with everyone.
I wonder if you'd be willing to share the template that you put together?
Yep, there'll be a whole stack of them somewhere.
But, yeah, and I don't know how much is with crossover, but
Right.
I feel like we wouldn't need to hear as extensive administrative reports from every individual preschool as we do from the 3 elementary schools. But maybe if it was like more limited to the things that are going to intersect as these children enter our system officially in the following year.
So EES was actually the springboard for this template, and ours is a little different. And I send mine electronically, I could send it to you and you could look at that and see.
Yeah, we kind of chuckled with your health report, like, wow, could you imagine tracking everything we do? We just do it, Liv.
Right. How are you doing?
You don't have time to write it down.
Yes, you do want to do
That we don't need.
That's why you have 3 teachers for a class of 15 children.
So what do we, I'm not sure what we need for an action, a motion to invite our preschool partners to identify a representative and an alternate or something like that to join our board, to join our meetings. Is that, we have a motion to that effect?
So moved. And add that to the administrative report function
Yes.
of our meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, maybe we should have done this as the first part of it. I kept looking over and saying, oh.
But actually, if they're going to be joining us, they will be sitting here the entire time,
Yeah, the previous meetings you've been to have been about you, so yeah, this is good. Oh, I have a question. I don't know if I'm going to remember where this came from.
Or if you can find it
Oh,
on
it
your
was
sheet of paper.
a conversation about compassionate communities, or a series of, you might know something about that. Conversations every second and fourth Wednesday night. I think the line was on in May. Compassionate in our communities, and it's a different group of people. And last Wednesday it was Human Services, and it was Chloe and Margaret and Mary from Crowdy Center, and they were talking about their touch points approach. And are you part of that training and in that process with them?
David, I can respond to that.
Yeah, I know you are. They mentioned that specifically.
So touch points is providing a resurgence in this community, and it's a very scripted, owned curriculum, and we've lost a number of touch points trainers in this community, but we're resurrecting. And I'm one of them. So Mary Coogan and I are actually doing a touch points training right now. And we are committed to kind of building on the momentum and continuing with that, at least on an annualized basis. It's a 3-day commitment, and you have to attend all 3 days, so it's a bit of a challenge. We do have some partners in the program right now, in the training right now. And you might have done it, Mariah, when we did it. Yes.
And Deb, how is that funded? If you put the training together and you offer it, and is there funding or people?
Yes.
What I'm asking is, can our partners who don't, obviously
Absolutely.
can't afford to pay for training?
Right, so the training that we're offering right now, we typically have 20 slots, and in this particular training, we've opened it up to the community. We have some Winston Crowdy partners, and we actually have a nurse practitioner who travels down from the Northeast Kingdom because there's nothing else available. So EES is footing for this go around.
Okay. I don't want to distract conversation, I just was curious when I heard about that. Great, thanks. So, any other questions?
I had a question just about, we had discussed some ways of interacting, and this was definitely one of them, having a seat at the table. But how would we go about broaching having those conversations about professional development or curriculum
purchasing or?
Ask to, if you have something in particular, ask to have it on the agenda. I think the first step would be bring it up in your administrative report, say this is one of the things, and then we would figure out how to approach it and what would work, you know, how we can make it work.
Did you say there were 11 different, how many
12
schools are involved?
12 and then ES puts us at 13, I believe.
And they're all in Brattleboro?
Yep.
Wyndham, I mean, what's the geographic focus here?
Yeah, so I think that that's with WSESU. I don't know that all of them are with Brattleboro.
Right,
I
so it
know
would be,
Timpson Hill was connected to Wyndham Central
Right,
through that
but
but we
program.
would have students going there, so that's why they're considered one of
I
our,
see.
we're paying for
Right,
students
so
to
the
Okay,
families
so that
can
isn't a-
choose to go to one that's in a
right.
different
Yeah,
town, but
exactly.
we just pay for all the
Yeah,
Brattleboro.
it's a great collaboration.
And we have different partnerships with different SUs. So we have
Great, well, thank you. You're welcome to stay around for the fund reserve conversation, which hopefully will be brief. Anything else? Okay, good. We'll move on from unfinished business to new business, fund reserve. I think in this one, we were looking for a definitive number for how much? Oh, okay, sorry. So I think we should table that for the next meeting. And I think what we, just to say what I think, and then people can respond, is that the purpose is to talk about how much money we have in our reserve fund and what we want to do with it, what we want to suggest do with it, and how we want to go about making that decision. It's within our power to just decide it, how much we want to involve the town in the process of deciding it. It's, if we took there's $330,000 in our current budget that was approved by the town. If that goes into the merged budget, that's from our reserve fund, and that was to reduce Brattleboro, specifically Brattleboro taxes. We may want to-
$330,000 from the reserve fund is in the budget.
Is in the budget
Okay.
as revenue.
All right.
So it's coming out of the bank and going there, but there's still.
But then there's other money that's left behind.
I think somewhere in the city of 700,000. So if we wind up merging, we may want to bring that 330 back too, which we could have as much as $1 million. So the question is, whether do we want to just leave it there and have it be absorbed by the merged district? It is Brattleboro taxpayer money, and there's been some concern that we get it and use it for something else. And there's always, we have things we need to, we have a lot of capital things we want to do. And then there's always the consideration that is primary in my mind is what can we invest it in that will, in the future, reduce the tax rate for everybody, because if we're merged, it's for everybody, but we'll reduce the tax rate rather than just put off an expenditure. And energy investments are that, because they start, your cost just goes down from then on and forever. So that's sort of the range of things that we need to talk about with them. So,
But, yeah, and I know the energy though, I know the other schools, I believe, are they getting solar credits already?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
So-
It's everybody's.
Right, but they're separate.
Right,
They're
but there's a
separate
new.
one than ours,
yeah.
so.
And we have 2 of the 3 schools have new boilers in them, and new
Right.
controls, and window quilts, and we've got an audit that, all the schools were audited, and Oak Grove was audited as well, and we've got to, actually, I'll hand those up. But we've got, I think I did it before too, we've got numbers already for what it would cost to do a series of improvements and how much the savings would be over time. I do have them. So we'll just pass these around, have a look at these, and I mean, this is one of the possibilities of what we could do with that money.
I'm just wondering, if we were to choose to spend all the money on improvements and other towns made a similar choice, what would happen to the new district not having any reserves coming from any of the towns?
Well, they would they would have a budget, they would have to stay within. They wouldn't have reserves if things are over, or if a roof caved in or something like that. We'd have to borrow. What happens is if you don't have reserve, you have to borrow.
Okay,
Then you don't close the building.
right, okay.
Presumably, the new district would then be accruing its own fund balance after. the
Right,
first
but
year.
if, I'm just wondering if everybody was like, let's spend it down to 0 to benefit our taxpayers, whose money this is, then would that put the other district in a precarious
We would
position?
actually be in a
or not?
negative
That's what we need to talk about.
What do you mean?
because some districts are in a negative.
Okay. Some already don't have any fund reserve
Correct.
there.
Well, some of them have, like, I think every district has some reserve funds, it's different amounts, but, I only know for sure that Putney has nearly $1 million in a bond, in debt, at the same
Okay.
time. The debt goes into the pot, and. our
They have reserves,
funds-
but they also have debt.
Yeah, so our million might, you could say it was gonna pay off Putney's debt, it won't,
Right.
because that bond will remain there, and it'll be paid monthly or annually, or whatever the schedule is, but a lot of people, people in the community have mentioned that, we need to, that's our money.
Any investment we make in efficiency in our own buildings, though, will accrue benefits for
Everyone.
everybody over
It's
time.
gonna lessen the cost.
And it's really the only thing that we can invest in that we actually get a return on. Everything else is consumed or used or.
Agreed.
So one question would be, if we did vote to do something like this, I guess, I was actually going to say it before, but maybe I'll say it now, or I will say it now. So at the informational session on the budget, a woman brought up the case that we don't have the machines that would then, help with the heart if somebody was in cardiac arrest. And I know you said, Kelly, that you were looking into some grant funds around that. I don't know if that will cover the whole cost of it, but it is the case that that's a safety measure that we might want to think also about safety things for
Yeah,
the school
right,
that we wouldn't normally purchase outright, but maybe there are some grants to supplement things.
And this is, this is an opportunity, because I'm sure that we were gonna get those, we're gonna get the ADs in all the buildings. Just, it'd be nice to pay for them and not have to take it out of crayon funds or something.
Right.
Yeah, or transportation to the destination destination. So, we'll, okay to table that to the next meeting, and then we'll see if we can, if Frank can give us the best number he has. I know it's all moving. And it's 7:12, and we have left appointment of the second Town Capital Review Board representative. Oh, we have 2 things left. And that, I think, is pretty much pro forma. I don't think that board has met.
Rarely ever meets, if ever.
Right.
So Robin is one.
Gracefully agreed to be,
Yes.
to serve on the committee. We need one other person.
What is this committee?
Review if there are capital grants that we're reviewing to apply for or to give. I guess
To apply
to
for.
apply for, yeah. It's through the town. It comes through the town, so we need to have people sitting on the board.
Is it an ad hoc schedule?
Yeah.
It's not a
It's-
I
regular
cannot
meeting.
think of a time that it has
Yes,
met.
And
I've been on it for 2 years, I guess, and I've never gone to a meeting, so.
I'm willing.
Emily's like, oh, that works.
I want to be on this committee.
Well, we got 2 then.
Add it to my resume.
Andy and Emily both, but you're going to have to shoot rock, paper, scissors.
I mean, if you want to be on it.
I'm willing.
I don't think we get those big block grants anymore. The town gets repaid and we actually loan that out again, and that's a revolving fund now, but we haven't had a new one before. Okay, nicely done. And
Yeah. we probably
on the
should.
committee? Oh, okay.
Okay,
All in
I'll
favor?
nominate Andy to be on the capital review board.
Second.
All in favor of Andy for capital review board?
Happy to do it.
Aye.
Great.
So let me know when you need me.
It's
And
like,
now-
oh, we got her.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'll be ready.
And the last item is.
It looks like we have also executive session?
That was in
Yeah.
case the
Okay,
previous thing.
that was for the other thing.
Bus stop change request, I believe we all got that, the background information in the mail. Yes. Carriage Hill.
I sent it to you.
I didn't get that.
I didn't
Oh, just
get
me?
it.
Yes, I
Okay,
generally
that's
just
fine.
send things
That's
to
right.
you and then you can disseminate it. or-
Okay, and I did not do that.
Okay, so I will,
Great, thank you.
I will just read this. I had a bus stop change for Carriage Hill for the 1920s, so that's next year, school bus route. I live in West Brattleboro in the Carriage Hill subdivision, which is located up Stockwell Drive off Western Avenue. I have 2 elementary-aged children that attend Oak Grove School. We're very sad to hear our bus stop at the bottom of Carriage Hill was eliminated by the bus company last October, just 1 month into the school year. I'll give a short recap of my research on why the bus stop was eliminated below. The goal of this email is to ask the school board if they can put this bus stop back in rotation for the upcoming 1920 school year. Many children would benefit from a neighborhood stop and have a safer bus stop location. Some history. Last September, Kosmuskis Bus Company had a bus stop at the bottom of Carriage Hill subdivision. They were picking up elementary and middle high school kids. Several children rode the bus, including my kids. A few weeks into the school year, a letter was sent home that they were eliminating the bus stop at Carriage Hill due to scheduling issues. I contacted the head of the bus department and was told their schedule was too tight and they had to eliminate the stop. I was also informed they were with a new bus contract and somehow there was possibly a miscommunication about the Carriage Hill stop when the schedule was originally planned out last summer. I did not get an answer on why our bus stop was eliminated over the other bus stops on the route. We have a place to turn around the bus with ample space for the bus to maneuver so that should not have been an issue. The head of the bus company advised me she was trying to bring the bus stop back in the rotation, but there were no promises for the 18-19 school season. She also said that by eliminating the bus stop, they were now on time with the high school, middle school pickup. She's attached a map. Concerns, current bus stop on Western Avenue, 1 Stockwell Drive. The concerns, there's 1 sidewalk connecting Western Avenue, Stockwell Drive and Carriage Hill subdivision. The sidewalk is on Stockwell Drive. In the winter, it's never plowed. It's not passable, so kids walk in the road to get to the bus on Western Avenue. This is very dangerous with kids in the road and cars on Stockwell Drive, an accident waiting to happen. It's at least a half-mile walk to the current stop for the bus riders. The place to wait for the bus is right on Western Avenue in someone's driveway with cars going by at 35 to 40 miles an hour. This is not safe for small children. The current drop location at the end of the day on Western Ave is not safe. The bus stops on the corner of Western Ave going back to Brattleboro, right before the entrance to Stockwell Drive, and there is fast traffic with semi-tractor trailers coming up behind. Many families live up in the Carriage Hill neighborhood and would benefit from taking the bus to school. I really hope that this stop will be added back to the route for the upcoming 2019-2020 school year. At this time, I'm not comfortable with my kids waiting on Western Avenue for the bus due to traffic and walking to and from the bus independently, as they are in 2nd and 5th grade. Thank you for addressing my request and let me know what else I need to do. Kind regards, Mallory Elliott. So considering that this is a request for next year, I feel like that gives the bus company time to plan out the routes, but it is definitely, it's your decision whether or not we want to put this back.
Have you been able to talk with the bus company at all about why they eliminated it?
Because that stop was making the bus to the high school and middle school 10 to 15 minutes late.
But couldn't they just move everybody a little bit earlier?
I do not know what time that would mean the earliest child was picked up. Don't know any of.
I think that bus goes up to Marlboro.
Yeah.
Because we live on the road before that, right
Okay.
before Route 9 starts. And my kids never rode the bus because, I mean, I do have to say, the bus is very crowded. And I'm a little concerned that elementary school kids are riding with middle schoolers and high schoolers.
I don't think they are.
No.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
It
All right.
has to pick up those kids, get them
Okay.
wherever they're going, and then go
All right.
back and do the route.
Yep, do them, get
To
the
the high
middle
school.
school. Yeah, so it'd be very early for the elementary school
To
kids.
get there.
But I think I could be wrong, and she didn't put this in the letter, but I think from talking with Mallory that they did have this bus stop the previous year.
Yes,
Yes.
they did.
So the
And
bus
somehow
used to-
they had a schedule that worked out then.
It's,
I don't know that
it's
that's
a-
true.
Our
It's a
busing
long
is
history.
dramatically different now.
Yeah. I think it also depends on how, we don't know the history on how late it was
Right.
to the middle school
Well,
the previous year.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of it is in the afternoon, and because the afternoon is causing a delay to drop our kids off, because Academy is no longer like the transportation center of, in New York City, where we used to have kids ride the bus and then they'd all go to Academy, they'd all switch buses and then they'd go different places. So last year, they were able to be able to eliminate that concern of getting back to the high school in time, because those kids were being transferred at Academy onto a different bus that could get them there without having to get back to the high school. And now the 2 buses that pick up in the afternoon deliver kids home as opposed to transferring.
Okay.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, and they got a late jump on trying to solve that problem, and when they solved that problem, they created many other problems. So we met with them pretty routinely throughout the fall, because we had kids riding on the bus for an obscene amount of time, like an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half in some cases, just ridiculous.
Yes.
So, maybe that change had to do with some pressure we were giving them on some of the other issues we were dealing with. I think ultimately they need to start from scratch and just kind of throw everything out the window and really focus this summer on creating an efficient bus plan for Brattown.
So do we want to make that our recommendation, that we ask them to start from scratch and include the carriage host?
The letter is very reasonable and well
I think
thought
it
out.
makes sense.
Yes.
I'm imagining that distance and that walk and the sidewalk not plowed and
And I
the
know
kids
it's-
walking down
And
the
it's,
street.
well, there's also a
It's a
hill.
hill.
There's
It's a
big
hill and a curve.
Yeah.
It's a hill and a curve.
And, I mean,
Slippery.
That's
And I
a
know-
haul for-
and I believe they'd eliminated the Everett Heights stop. And so my kids had to go over, and during the summer, it's fine because they can walk down through the woods.
Right.
But in the middle of winter, that's when they're like,
Right.
rides.
All the schools benefit by fewer personal cars taking kids to school.
Yeah.
I mean, using the buses is part of our big energy. And it's a sustainability issue.
Yeah,
as
so we want
well.
electric buses too.
I'll tell them.
Yeah, we want electric or propane
With-
buses,
with
solar
the-
buses.
With the current contract.
So, do we need to, I suppose we should have a motion to,
Are we in charge of the bus stop? We
No.
tell the
No,
bus
what
company
you
to
should tell
stop, or what are we
me
doing?
is to ask the bus company to review this over the summer,
Yeah.
review
Yes.
stops and reinstate this stop and try to create bus routes where everybody gets to school on time and is only on the bus for a reasonable.
Yes.
Okay.
Elsie, you got all that?
Got that?
Most of it.
Can you read it back so we know what the motion is? I think you just, that was perfect.
Yeah, because that's a lot.
There was a piece about
That's right.
that I haven't added in yet, but someone's going to make a motion that the board asks the bus company to reconsider their current bus schedule for next school year and have the new schedule include the Carriage Hill neighborhood bus stop, and also ensure that all students get to school in a timely manner.
Someone like to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All remaining business is anything for the next agenda?
So we have the code of ethics,
Okay.
we have the fund reserve.
And we'll have policies that we have to,
We will review some policies after this next.
yes, the SU meeting tomorrow night.
Yep.
So can I just confirm what the dates are in May for meeting here?
8th
Yeah.
and the 8th, we may meet at the library. So that Lyle just has to go downstairs for individual that.
Okay.
And then the 22nd, would be here. And then we have one meeting in June, and one of those needs to be with the policy council.
Do you have a preference about which
I
meeting
think
that
we
is?
prefer June.
So you're meeting after the
What's in the,
Yeah.
what's in the planner?
It's for the, I think it's for next week, for our next meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
there's a
The next
next
one
one.
is
Oh, that's
April.
one.
This way we can see what else we have in the planner too.
Which, this is a new binder, so I
It's
need you to write it.
It's April
And this
10th.
isn't there.
We don't have the Brattleboro Town School Board meeting.
Oh, here it
is.
We had policy council on the 22nd,
10th, and we'll probably have an extra
but
meeting.
now we're talking about moving it to the 5th.
Okay,
June 5th.
so we'll do the joint one on the 5th?
The joint policy council EES meeting.
That works for you, Doug?
Yeah.
And typically it's in June, but for some reason we had it earlier.
And they're 3:45.
We also, we had a presentation from the academy students about the green roof and said we would follow up on that. So we might want to just revisit that on the next agenda too.
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful to see when the committee at Green Street has some concrete plans and numbers around that, and maybe we could kind of use that as a jumping off point for doing a similar project in
When
India.
Green Street has numbers, did you say? Or-
Right, well, they have the committee investigating their roof
Right.
garden, that's a similar thing to a green
Yeah,
roof,
it's a
right?
different kind of roof too.
Really, it would have a.
They're both-
It would have a green aspect and an energy aspect to the design as well, so be.
No, I meant the structure of your roof is more likely wood, and the cadmium, I think, is probably steel. The actual roof trusses that hold it up. I'm just aware.
Talking like a
we
carpenter
need-
over there.
Yeah, we need somebody to look at that roof and say what it is.
Okay, so maybe we should start
The
from
kids
that,
presented some
something
numbers, 60
specific to the
pounds per square foot or something, but I know there's always been trepidation about people walking on it, and we've had people taking the snow off because of the weight, which, if it's water, it can be a lot more than 60 pounds a square foot. But, so anyway, we'll just follow up and see how it's going and figure out what we're gonna do next. I just didn't want to let that get off the
Yeah.
agenda because the kids had asked us to look
Did
at
we say next time too, we'd be talking about the relationship with the Wyndham Strings, the Wyndham Youth Orchestra and
So, yeah.
We could report back, hopefully we'll meet before then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I will be sending an email to get some times from you and then
Good.
find out when the EMC is.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the only thing left is the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
We
Yeah,
are
when is-
adjourned at
What time do you need on April
7:29.
24th?